Hello, it's Stuart, the Unrepentant Atheist, another clip, and this one is from a few years ago. We've got Russell, and Will is calling in from Oklahoma City. It really amuses me when Christians call in like they've never watched the Atheist Experience before, they've never been challenged before, and they're phoning in with what they think are really compelling arguments in a really quite sort of naive and innocent way. This is one of them, so let's hear what Will has got to argue to prove his case for the existence of his God.
Yeah, I wanted to call in and say why I believe the Bible's true and why I think there's evidence.
Excellent.
Can't
wait.
Yeah, brilliant start.
Well, my first evidence would be all the missionaries that go into other countries to spread the gospel.
Okay.
And it just seems to me that if it wasn't true or wasn't reliable, that they wouldn't make the time or effort to, go overseas. And
you know that atheists don't deny the existence of Christians, right?
Well, yeah, I know that.
Okay. I mean,
are you aware that other religions do the same thing?
This is crazy.
They send missionaries.
I didn't think they did it as much as Christians did.
some of them do, some of them don't.
It is the
Well, I think that it's fair to say that Islam has done quite a good job of promoting its religion, spreading it wherever it can.
is the number what determines the truth?
You want to see missionaries talk to people who are enthusiastic about Bitcoin.
And Jehovah's Witnesses knock on every door.
Oh yeah,
all the time.
Jehovah's Witnesses are way more active than you guys. They're smaller, but they're real busy.
So based on your logic, you need to convert to Jehovah's Witness.
Well, I would also say, though, a lot of them are willing to lay down their lives. I mean, Christians have been killed in other countries for the gospel, and it just seems to me that if it wasn't true, why would they die for it?
Some guys flew into a building for their beliefs.
Yeah,
make them right?
They really, really believe it, but that does.
This is unbelievable. This guy, first of all, he's saying that because there are more Christian missionaries, it means that Christianity is true. And now he's saying that people have laid down their lives for Christianity, and therefore it's true. This is obviously a grown-up adult. He kind of sounds like he's been through a reasonable education system, and yet he's got no ability to actually critique those so-called evidences.
Does not make it that does not make their belief accurate.
Well,
true.
I mean, martyrs have died for it over the centuries for the Bible, and it just seems to me that all these people wouldn't have been willing to die.
Well, I don't know if you caught what Phil said, but how do you feel about the 9/11 hijackers?
Well, they were Muslim. Christian.
But they were willing to die for what they believed in.
They did die for what they believed in.
So based on your logic, you should be Muslim.
Yeah, also the point about Muslims is that many have actually strapped explosives to their bodies, and they have actually detonated those bombs, killing themselves and other people. So that is actually beyond what Christians have done. I haven't seen any Christian suicide bombers.
Well, I think another evidence is
It's funny that he doesn't acknowledge it. Another evidence, another bad piece of evidence.
Are we changing the subject from that one now?
That's 2 strikes and no balls. So give us your third one.
Go on. Yeah.
Okay. There's a man I listen to on Christian radio. His name is Andrew Womack, and he said that his son's dead body was in the morgue for 5 hours, and he prayed. He prayed to God for him to be healed, and his body was raised from the dead.
I find that difficult to believe.
I mean, I don't think he would lie and make it up.
Well, there are a variety of reasons why people say things that are not true. And
well, if it was true that some child had been in the morgue, or somebody's son had been in the morgue for 5 hours confirmed dead, and that they were hauled out of the morgue alive, I'm fairly certain that this would be, quite sort of big headline news. I've never actually heard of anybody being pulled out of a morgue alive. I'm fairly certain that it would be on television or something. You know, it'd be on the news. It would be major news. And if it was the case, they'd be asking, how did it happen?
And not all of them are because they are deliberately lying. In a lot of cases, I mean, we talked about Muslims and Jehovah's Witnesses a minute ago. I do not think that Muslims and Jehovah's Witnesses are lying about the things that make them take those religions seriously, but they are still mistaken about the things that lead them to believe that those are the one true faiths.
I do apologize for cutting in there. I've just looked up this guy's story about the minister who claimed he'd resurrected his son from the dead. His name's Andrew Womack, and let's have a look. I've found the Wikipedia page, just some very quick research here. In a 29 interview, Womack claimed that in March 2001, his son Jonathan Peter was resurrected after being dead for 5 hours. However, statements posted online by Desiree Cannon Womack alleged that Jonathan was revived at the hospital following an overdose. She also alleged that she was the victim of spousal abuse and silence by the ministry. As late as 2021, Womack can be seen in interviews repeating the story of his son's resurrection. Okay, so here we are back with the video, and let's see how it concludes.
Yeah.
Well, I think what I'm noticing is the pattern in the three examples that you've given us is maybe a lack of ability to understand evidence. The number of people that believe in something is not evidence for its truthiness, for its truth. They're devoted.
He's actually nailed that lack of ability to understand evidence, quality of evidence.
Devotion to an item doesn't mean that it's true, and a testimonial story doesn't mean that what that person believes is true. What you need to have is actual documentable evidence, not a story.
But you know, the incredible thing is that there are millions and millions of Christians and Muslims out there who believe on that same flimsy evidence. And these are people who most likely for anything else would not accept that standard of evidence, but they'll accept it as evidence for the religion they already believe in.
Can you...
Are you familiar with Andrew Womack?
No, I'm not, and actually I'm Googling him right now, which I know is great TV.
Yeah, well, I've done that, obviously. It's not easy to do it on the show, but...
But can you tell me more details of this story? What did the son die of, and when was he declared dead, and so forth?
I don't know the details, but
okay.
He doesn't even know the details. I've just looked it up. His son took an overdose. He went to hospital. It seems that he was revived in the theater. And years later, years and years later, not close to the event, but years later, he claimed that he'd resurrected his son. Unbelievable.
Preached about it several times, and he said that his body was in the morgue for 5 hours.
Because I would also assume if you're in the morgue for 5 hours, that you're locked into one of the little chambers.
Well,
there's no evidence that his son was not in the morgue. Well, from what I've read, his son was not in the morgue at all. He was why would he be in the morgue? He was revived, or at least there's some doubt been cast upon his story. I think it's highly unlikely that he was in a morgue, and it looks to me like his ex-wife's version, that his son was revived after taking an overdose, and obviously he was eventually released from hospital, is what actually really happened. And he was never in a morgue at all. If somebody's got some evidence out there that he really was in a morgue, I'd love to hear it.
I don't want to speculate too much on the details of the story.
Because it may not matter.
But...
And he said that his son came back to life.
But it sounds like all he had to do was say that, and you believed him and were immediately convinced that this was good evidence. Although I assume you were a Christian before you heard that story, right?
Oh yeah, I've been a Christian all my life.
Right. So it's not that the story
he's been a Christian all his life. You don't say.
Itself convinced you. It's that you heard the story and it dovetailed with something you already believe, and so you found it easy to take that seriously. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't find it easy to take seriously, at least not on this point, or not yet. And the fact that you don't know any details doesn't help me all that much.
Okay. I think another thing I can tell you is the nation of Israel.
Yeah.
The other, Arab nations and, the terrorists that want to take them out, they can never take them out. And, that tells me that God's looking after them.
Well, I mean...
This is another thing that gets me. God is looking after them. The Jews are God's chosen people, right? This guy is a Christian, right? God's chosen people have rejected God incarnate, the Messiah. How does any of that make sense? Why would God's chosen people reject God in the flesh? Why? And yet this Christian is using the Jews and the realization of the state of Israel as evidence for the existence of God.
Israel was gone for a couple of thousands of years before it was specifically reinstituted as a place by a bunch of people who were interested in fulfilling that prophecy.
And based on that logic, you should be Jewish. So you've got
Muslim,
Jehovah's Witness, Jewish.
Yeah, well, exactly.
So the other thing I think is very interesting to me is that if you have evidence...
Yeah, in fact, that's one good point. You could claim on that logic that Christianity is untrue, because the prophecy that the land of Israel will be restored, or whatever that prophecy is, has been fulfilled for the Jewish nation, for Judaism. It's got nothing to do with Christianity. If anything, if either of those two religions are true, it would have to be Judaism and not Christianity, because Israel has been restored to the Jews, for the Jews, for Judaism, nothing to do with Christianity, nothing to do with Jesus.
That's disproven, you abandon it immediately and go to another evidence, and it's disproven, and you go to another evidence. How many of these do you need to show that your logic has got some problems with it?
Well, I think there's all kinds of evidence out there.
I know you do.
Yeah, well, he's not really listened to the critique of every single line of evidence, has he? He's just going to go away, and he's going to believe in them anyway.
But it just seems like you're not really willing to go into detail on any one of them, because as soon as we bring up something that might be problematic about your logic, instead of holding on to it and responding to that, you just change the subject.
And by the way, 100 really bad arguments does not equate one good argument.
Okay.
Well said. It's this whole thing about, the preponderance of evidence definitely points towards the truth of Christianity.
Okay. Well,
the preponderance of logical fallacies. You put them all together and you've got one unfallacious argument.
about the nation of Israel, there was the Six-Day War in 1967.
Yeah.
And wasn't there...
Yeah, well, the reason that Israel won all these wars against the Arabs is because the Americans were supplying them with superior weaponry, aircraft, etc., artillery, you name it, they had it.
So,
those other nations were wanting to take out Israel, and they were stopped
by soldiers fighting them,
and
right?
Bombs and jet fighters.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't stopped by some magical hand reaching down and, like Monty Python or something, grabbing their planes out of the sky. There was an actual war with people on the other side, and the other people won. I mean, it may have been unlikely to have that particular side win, but I mean, as football fans know, unlikely things happen all the time.
I wouldn't really say it was unlikely because, as far as I know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Golda Meir and, the people at the top in Israel at the time, they pressurized America for the latest armaments, jets and artillery, bombs, the whole lot. They had everything they needed to defeat the Arabs, who were using old equipment.
Especially in the, I mean, you know, and it's less unlikely because, well, in more recent times, they've had the undying support of the United States government, which tips the scales a little bit. But exactly. I cannot remember the Six-Day War well enough to say what the circumstances were in that case. But it didn't seem to be God in that case. It seemed to be an effective army.
Yeah, I mean, look, if Jesus is God in the flesh, if Christianity is true, why would God be helping the Jews who've rejected the Messiah? I think that is actually at the heart of this. So using these arguments that, you know, God has helped the Jews are God's chosen people. Clearly, if Christianity is true, Judaism can't be true. And I don't see any God helping the Jews who have actually rejected and helped to put to death the Messiah and continue to reject the Messiah.
Well, I did watch a video on it, and they said that there were visions of angels or something that stopped the enemies.
Okay. Did the video include any footage of the angels? That would be convincing.
Not actual footage, but people talking about it, saying it happened.
Okay. I don't think I'm going to go on with this. I hate to say this, but this guy sounds exactly like this guy sounds exactly like my friend, who's a conspiracy theorist, and he's told me, Stuart, souls exist. I said, how do you know souls exist? And he sent me a link to a video of somebody who'd been knocked over in a car accident. And he said, you can actually see the souls floating up. Really, souls exist. And this man is accepting the same standard of evidence. He'll believe anything which fits his own beliefs and confirmation bias. Okay, that's all for now. I just thought that was hilarious. Let me know what you think. Bye for now.